In the south, after the days of intense heat, the peak of which is Ton Min Festival, then the Vo Nam occasion of the Khmer people. At the end of April and the beginning of May of the solar calendar, it rains. The hot and uncomfortable dry season gradually ends, giving way to the cool and mild rainy season. The first rains of the season come and go suddenly. All things grow and flourish, plants and trees sprout, insects molt and call each other in the mating season, building up successive generations, creating chains of connections that rely on each other, support each other to survive and develop in the natural world. The same goes for people. After the dry days that seem to exhaust all sources of vitality, the first rains of the season seem to cool the body, cool the soul, making them more enthusiastic in all natural and social activities. Frog meat is often eaten with vermicelli and stir-fried with bread. Frog meat cooks quickly, so the time on the stove only needs about 10 minutes to meet the requirements. Season again to taste. Then add the coconut milk, black fungus, chopped onion, crushed roasted peanuts, cover and boil again to have a delicious and eye-catching stir-fried frog dish. In the rainy season, the cassia tree behind the house also sprouts young, lush shoots like the frogs in the fields, offering the people of the Southwest the dish of frog stewed with cassia leaves and coconut milk. However, the cassia leaves for stewing should not be picked too young like in raw vegetable wraps, but choose the leaves 2 or 3 below the shoots that have turned a slightly dark green color, so that they are not mushy and have a rich flavor. In the past, when the frog meat in the stewing pot was cooked, people added coconut milk and chopped cassia leaves, then scooped it into a bowl and brought it to the dining table. Nowadays, the stewing pot is placed on a gas stove in the middle of the table. Coconut milk is added when eating, while the chopped cassia leaves are placed in a basket, added as you eat, making it fresher and more attractive. In the afternoon, when the sun is setting, the rain may still be drizzling. The work inside and outside is finished. There is a pot of frog stewed with galangal leaves or a plate of stir-fried frog. The men will definitely call each other. At first, it was just a few glasses, but then a whole liter without realizing it. Nowadays, many dishes made from frogs, especially stir-fried frogs and frog stewed with galangal leaves and coconut milk, have entered the restaurant menu as specialties for diners with a lot of money and who often miss the taste of the countryside. Unfortunately, although the restaurant guarantees that it is wild frogs, most of them are farmed frogs. The meat is bland and crumbly. In the countryside, although rare, it is not rare. In the middle of the first rainy night of the season, frogs still call out to the young men carrying lanterns to the fields and on rainy afternoons. A plate of stir-fried frogs or a pot of frog stewed with galangal leaves and coconut milk with a glass of rice wine is still very attractive and interesting. Peaceful countryside. But perhaps, for them, it is art. I remember when I was in the countryside, during this season, my brother and I often went to catch frogs and brought them back from the fields. At night, my brother had a spear in his hand, along with a flashlight placed on his forehead. Meanwhile, I held a basket and a spare mini flashlight. As soon as I stepped out of the house, the hateful cold of the plains almost made me flinch. But after a while of exercising, My body temperature seemed to stabilize. The two brothers waded through this field and then crossed to another field. Whenever we heard a croaking sound nearby, the frogs croaked in a rougher, deeper voice than toads, frogs, and bullfrogs. We would shine the flashlight and see two red eyes. We would point the spear at them, or use our hands to catch them when they were close. Occasionally, we would catch frogs, but that was okay. The croaking frogs were still as delicious as usual. At nearly 9 p.m., looking at the basket that was full, my brother said, "Let's go home, it's late. Staying out here might make you catch a cold." The two brothers returned in a position of almost running because of the cold. Nearing home, both of them did not forget to use flashlights to fumble and break off a few branches of cash leaves, a dried coconut, grated coconut, to stew. The joy of living in the countryside lies in that. If you want to eat vegetables, tubers, and fruits, you just need to step out into the garden and you will have everything. If you lack anything, you can go to the neighbor's house to ask for some. When picking cash leaves, also known as vong cash, you must break off the whole branch, not the leaves, because that will kill the branch. While breaking off the branch, it will sprout new, greener branches. To make stewed frog with cash leaves, it must be wild frogs because the meat of wild frogs is fragrant, sweet, and firm, while the meat of farmed frogs is fishy, bland, and mushy. For urban people, it is not difficult to distinguish between wild frogs and farmed frogs. The waist of the wild frog is long and thin, not as round as the farmed frog. The skin of the wild frog is dark black, while the skin of the farmed frog is light and pale. In particular, the meat of the wild frog is red when processed, not opaque white like the farmed frog. When my brother and I brought the basket of frogs home, my mother carefully sat and selected each one. The big ones she saved to sell at the market tomorrow. The small ones were used to make frog stewed with galangal leaves for my father and second brother to eat with rice and snacks, because my father worked the second shift at the farm. He did not come home until 10 o'clock. Then my mother took the dried coconut to grate to make the broth and prepare other small things. The wild frog is very clean, so when processing, just cut off the head, remove the toenails, and remove the intestines, but leave the skin intact. Cut the frog meat into bite-sized pieces and marinate with turmeric powder, salt, sugar, lemongrass and minced garlic for about 15 minutes. Pick the young leaves of the galangal leaves and chop them finely. Do not use old leaves because they are a bit tough and not fragrant. When the preparation was complete, Mom put the pan on the stove with a little cooking oil. When the pan was hot, Mom sprinkled minced garlic in and sautéed until golden and fragrant. Then added the frog meat and stir-fried until it was firm. Next, Mom poured in coconut milk and simmered it so that the frog absorbed the milk. Finally, she added the galangal leaves and stirred for a minute, then seasoned again and turned off the stove.